There are days where one needs to just make the effort in acknowledging that if one is doing this for a living, if one is genuinely wanting to spread the word about compelling stories being out there, that they go out of their way to see it, no matter how inaccessible it may be. This weekend, after watching The Diplomat and mostly being bummed out that it isn't getting many takers at the cinema, I went on a Mumbai Darshan, essentially to watch what the other languages had to offer on the big screen. So the first trip was to Malad and the second trip in the evening was to Chembur. Both films leaving me so happy and creatively satisfied, all making me conclude that the effort is worth it. Thank you for keeping me accountable on the same. I do read everything that you say, especially when it's constructive. So while the engagement on the channel and the algorithm demands for me to be realistic about this profession, I also have to run a business. It's important for me to also speak about the films and series that have been putting in the effort to provide creatively stimulating work, and even though they might not be star-led or feature massive marketing and production budgets, they deserve the attention and praise because they are literally formulating powerful stories that people with all the resources cannot even produce a sliver of. So here's me telling you what I watched this weekend. These are stories that are not only reserved for the big screen. I understand that many of you are also in places that don't get the screenings of many of these movies, so some of the titles are also available on digital platforms. So there is literally something for everyone across the board. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with 5 powerful movies and shows you need to watch and celebrate now. Number 5 goes to Officer on Duty. I was being hounded to watch this Jeetu Ashraf directed film starring Kunchacko Boban in the lead role, and while I believe it was technically brilliant, I think the film fell slightly short from a plot point of view. I remember just discussing amazing cold opens with all of you last week, and this film becomes another addition for the same, immediately sucking you in on what can possibly be the motive behind such mysterious deaths taking place in the city. The reason I say this film is technically brilliant is because Jakes Bejoy invigorates life into every frame with his background score, not only highlighting the PTSD an officer Hari Shankar is experiencing with this operatic symphony, but also integrating the stylized action scenes with some of the most exhilarating EDM tracks. Kunchacko Boban puts forth such a complex performance, a man riddled with pain, shielding himself with a tough exterior, and when this slowly breaks down, we get to see where all of this trauma stems from. A man hardened by his experiences. It's absolutely riveting to see him in this film. I have a similar sentiment towards someone like Vishak Nair, who plays the antagonist in this film. Having an undeniable screen presence, he is unpredictable, vile, and absolutely unhinged, becoming the worthy villain to go up against. The film, again from a plot point of view, especially being in the genre of crime thrillers, is rather basic. I also think it rather simplifies the atrocities committed by the antagonists, almost making it too easy for them to manipulate victims. But I think why people especially raved about it is because how it brilliantly got elevated by its performances and the technical departments, specifically the score by Jakes Bejoy and the editing patterns of Kunchacko. Needless to say, Officer on Duty still accounts for a very engaging watch in theaters. The film will soon be available on Netflix, so if you don't get the opportunity to watch it on the big screen, it should release digitally in a few weeks. Number 4 goes to Court, State versus a Nobody. The reason I got to know about Court was because Nani was producing the film. Nani jokingly has said once that he is an irresponsible producer, often spending too much that is not monetarily practical. But when I see his filmography as a producer, it just screams backing subjects that creatively align with him irrespective of the outcome. Court, State versus a Nobody is an extension of the same sentiment, I believe. Directed by Ram Jagdish, the film focuses on Chandu, played by Harsh Roshan, being arrested and being accused under the POCSO Act, aimed at protecting children from sexual abuse, exploitation, including assault and harassment. The development of the case against Chandu when he is represented by Surya Teja, played by Priyadarshi, the relationship he shares with Jabili, played by Sridevi, and the ultimate quest for the truth is the premise of this extremely compelling but slightly flawed courtroom drama. The film not only focuses on the findings of the case and the exploration of the ulterior motive of someone as cruel, narcissistic and stubborn as Mangapati, played by Sivaji, but also is a beautiful case of finding one's self-worth, especially the case of Priyadarshi finding his footing as a defense lawyer. As the film spends a lot of time on the evolution of the relationship between the two young adults, both Harsh and Sridevi, they are also very comfortable on screen. Just another example of casting age-appropriate actors and especially and more importantly people who are capable actors. Bollywood Nepo babies could never, honestly. Priyadarshi also puts forth a competent performance, being a light at the end of the hopeless tunnel for Chandu. However, if there is someone who left chills down my spine, it has to be Shivaji as Mangapati, an accurate representation of people who claim to be harbingers of culture and honor. I hear this is a beautiful redemption arc story to Shivaji's life, and I would love to be educated on the same by the Telugu audience in the comments. The exploration and deconstructing the truth as the screenplay progresses engages you as a viewer. However, I feel like the writing became slightly wobbly when discussing the maturity of young adults and the legality around those in the vicinity of 18 years old. The arguments are slightly convenient and slightly problematic as well, actually extracting a rather tone-deaf climax conversation. This thankfully does not hamper the holistic impact of the film. I wish the film toned down its overuse of its dramatic background score for every scene. However, the film really is effective in becoming a commentary on how the battle for justice is simply not accessible or swift for have-nots in this nation. Systems rotten from the very core that suck the life out of people, compelling them to give up and be at the mercy of those who make it their sole mission to ruin you. Well written for the most part, but most importantly, showcasing very effective performances. Number 3 goes to Rekhachitram. I finally got around to seeing the much raved about Malayalam film Rekhachitram, directed by Kunchacko, a film starring Asif Ali, who I believe is really on a dream run. I would love to know the thoughts of the Malayalam audience on why Asif Ali, despite being such a capable actor, does not get the same love as someone as popular as Fahad or Prithviraj. Irrespective, the storyline of this film fascinated me so much. A confession of a murder that took place close to 40 years ago leads to the exhumation of a body in the current timeline and an investigation that unearths several secrets families and individuals have kept hidden for decades. A movie starring Mammootty in 1985 takes center stage, and in an era where AI is barely being able to recreate real images of young actors, here you have a mid-budget Malayalam film that does a better job than movies investing hundreds of crores in their production budget. Asif Ali's exploration of the case unearths several references to 80s Malayalam cinema, in some cases also getting real actors like Jagdish providing fictional insight about the decade and their observations. The film has this beautiful synergy between the real and fictional that I am sure must have been a field day for cinema fans from Kerala, because every description is a callback to an iconic song, movie or an actor. While Kishkinda Kadam saw Asif have a deep exploration psychologically of something traumatic that his family underwent, demanding, in my opinion, way more from him as a performer, Rekhachitram largely depends on its screenplay for impact, and this is where Ramu Sunil's written story shines, never really dipping your interest as Asif gets closer to cracking the case, really making me believe that Malayalam cinema has a grasp on crime and psychological thrillers like no one else in Indian cinema. Number 2 goes to Ponman. I find Basil Joseph to be one of the most exciting actors to watch in Malayalam cinema. An actor who has just an undeniable comic timing and someone who just understands the pitch of the story. His recent work in Sukshma Darshani proved to me that he can execute slapstick as well as dramatic with ease, and Ponman is another example of an actor understanding this balance. The story is based on a Malayalam novel that is very popular in the state of Kerala. When Bruno gets into a scuffle and abandoned by his own political party, he finds it tough to get funds for his sister's wedding, specifically 25 sovereigns of gold that she would wear on her wedding day. Acquiring the help of P.P. Ajesh, played by Basil Joseph, his business involves supplying gold to brides in exchange for cash received as wedding gifts. If the cash falls short, the remaining gold must be returned immediately. When the wedding occurs and the bride leaves with the gold to go to the groom's village, absconding essentially, P.P. Ajesh makes it his sole mission to get back what is rightly his. Who comes in his way is the towering and intimidating groom Mariano, played by Sajan Gopu. Both Sajan Gopu and Basil Joseph in this film are so entertaining, so engaging to watch that even a basic plot from a narrative perspective thoroughly invests you. I guess that is the beauty of capable actors. They can even make watching paint dry somewhat compelling. I mean, when you see someone like Basil, someone who is unassuming and short in build, especially in contrast to Sajan Gopu, you just know that it is a losing battle. But his tenacity to fight makes it an underdog's quest to get what is rightly his so engaging. Several nail-biting moments piquing your anxiety as well, making Ponman, directed by Jyotish Shankar, an extremely well-made drama and thriller. It beautifully shapes up to be much deeper than what the basic plot may promise in its climax. Number 1 goes to Adolescence. I know I don't speak a lot about English shows, but this is a show that I just had to rave about with all of you, and I think it's essential that all of you watch it. This is a 4-episode British series titled Adolescence, created by Jack Thorne and Stephen Graham, that is available on Netflix. This is a show that I went in cold turkey for. I saw a glimpse of the trailer and stopped myself from even watching beyond the 30-second mark because I wanted the story to slowly unravel in front of me. I didn't even read about the actual case it is inspired by, and I can't emphasize enough on how it possibly is one of the best shows I've seen in years, both from a writing and technical point of view. The series focuses on the arrest of a minor, Jamie Miller, played by Owen Cooper, shockingly in his first acting role ever, and the developments that arise in his case. Jamie is accused of stabbing a girl from his school. The investigation, the way his parents cope with several of the case findings, and the psychological exploration of not only Jamie individually but also of the young impressionable minds of today more or less are the themes of Adolescence. Right off the bat, I have to tell you that the series is technically to marvel at. All 4 episodes are shot as a one take, long running shots that are absolutely seamless. The meticulous planning that it must have taken to ace so many moving elements left me in awe. This includes episodes where one is in an establishment like a police station or a school that involves movement across rooms, floors, and includes several supporting actors and extras as well. But in episode 3, it for the most part just has 2 actors in the frame, running their lines for long durations, and this is not executed just because it's creatively something cool to do, but essentially the series aims at emulating real life that does not get the opportunity for another take, where one doesn't get moments back to recreate them in a more convincing manner. They happen just like every other day in life. This nature of shooting the series demands for the cast to be prepared and rehearsed, and I can wholeheartedly tell you that the cast has absolutely knocked it out of the park. As I said, it's shocking that this is Owen Cooper's first acting role, showcasing such a maturity, such a complex role to pull off so early on in his career is exceptional. Erin Doherty, playing a psychologist assessing Jamie's behavior, shows great restraint in probably my favorite episode of the series. While the series does become a commentary on the irreversible ramifications that a young population is dealing with in the digital age, essentially shaping their thought processes, where one gets desperate for validation and attention, it also does a horrifying deep dive on the internal dialogues parents are undergoing today. What may be unassuming traits of their child can somehow manifest into the most cruel outcomes, and this makes parents constantly doubt their own skills as providers. This extracts some of the most heartbreaking performances by both Christine Trimarco and Stephen Graham as Jamie's parents. I can't tell you how much I bawled my eyes out watching Christine and Stephen in the last episode of the series, making genuinely Adolescence one of the most thought-provoking and gut-wrenching series you will see this week. I can assure you of that. More than its effective nature, I think it's important for you to watch it, merely for what it tells us about people all around us today. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about these movies and shows. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.